Hey everyone, Stevie Kratoff here from snubbyland.com, and today I'm just going to be giving you a bit of a behind the scenes look at me designing a level for the World's Hardest Game 3. So this is the first area in level 4, and there's going to be 11 areas in total. And before I started making this level, I had to kind of just figure out like how all the areas are going to connect together and just get like a general idea of what the map is going to look like. So once I figured that out, I just went ahead and started working on the first area. But you'll also see that like right here, that's the area right beneath the first area. And I included that just because I wanted to kind of like sometimes the areas don't really connect together, like they're kind of just two separate things. But in this level, the first two areas kind of interact with each other in a way, which you'll see a bit later. So so I kind of was doing them both at the same time in a way, and you'll see like a bunch of random enemies. You can't see it right now, but that's just because I was kind of working something out, but I was going to finish that later. And also there's like a door, like you can kind of see it right here. There's like a little door floating right there and like a bunch of, random stuff. That's all just like test stuff. I'm going to change that later. Okay, so this is one of the ways that the levels or the areas connect is right when you get into the area, there's a bunch of enemies blocking your way. And so unless you get lucky, you'll just die right as you go to the bottom area. But the cool thing is, when you get the key, it shows a cutscene. And then during the cutscene, if you're observant, you'll notice where the enemies are. So then that way, it's not cheap. So like, if you get the key before going to the bottom area, you have a chance at not getting hit by the enemies if you notice where the enemies are. So I just thought that was a good idea, and I had that in mind while designing this level. So when I design a level, or an area, sometimes I have an idea of how the enemies are going to go, but usually I don't. Usually I just start off doing what you see, not right here, but like usually I start off just by working with the walls. So right here I'm just kind of figuring out how thick I want the edge to be, but I'll probably do that later. And here I'm just kind of trying to figure out, oh yeah, that's one thing, one important thing is you need to know how many keys and coins are going to be in the level. And so I was kind of just figuring that out right now. Like I basically had to decide whether I wanted 2 keys or 1 key, and I decided on 1 key. It actually doesn't really matter how many coins there are, but I definitely needed to figure out how many keys I wanted before I actually designed the level. So anyway, the main first thing you do after figuring out how many keys you want is I just kind of try to brainstorm ideas for how the walls are going to look. And one thing you probably wouldn't realize is if you just played the game is it's actually really hard to come up with different shapes for the walls. And you're just sitting there with like a blank screen, like pretty much what you see here, and I just have no idea like what to do with the walls because I've done this all like a million times before. Like there's 60 levels in World's Hardest Game 2 because I added 10. There's 30 in the first game, and this is like the 24th I've done for the third game. So I'm like, I've used up so many ideas. And right now I'm just brainstorming what the walls can look like, and I'm also keeping in mind, how the enemies are going to work with the walls. So like right now, I kind of have like a rough idea in my head of what the enemies might do, but I really actually have no idea what they're going to do. I'm just kind of trying to figure it out as I'm doing the walls. So basically, I decided that I should have some walls kind of in the center so that it's not just a bunch of open space, and that would probably, give me more room to kind of make a better design with the enemies. So I thought it looked good to have like a those two little holes in the walls there. So I was kind of messing around with that, but I kind of decided not to have that. So now I'm experimenting, seeing what it would look like if the walls are thicker, the middle walls are thicker. So now I'm trying to. I've never had like that zigzag kind of design in the walls before in World Stars Game 3. So I wanted to find an excuse to kind of use those little zigzags. So right now I'm trying to figure out like how to make the zigzags work. And right here, that's me adding in. I'm basically just saying that there's 4 coins in the level, and I have to tell the program how many coins are in each level, or in each area, just because it helps the program run faster. So now I thought that those walls were pretty decent, so now I was going to try to start figuring out a way to do the enemies. And so I pretty much have no idea what I'm going to do with the enemies, and I'm just experimenting, or like I'm trying to visualize how they're going to move and think of different ways to do it. So right here I'm thinking maybe they'll be staggered, like moving back and forth staggered, but that didn't really seem like it was going to work. So then I thought maybe I'll put them in a big block and then have them move around in like a track. But then I thought that's probably not going to be too good, because the size of the track just wouldn't really make sense to have them going around in a track like that. So pretty much gave up on that idea pretty quick. Like I'm about to delete it right now, I think. So I pretty much don't have any ideas or can't decide on what I want to do the enemies. So now I'm messing around with the walls again. Really, I want the walls to look good. Like, it's kind of important to me that they actually look good. Anyway, so right there you see me kind of looking through World Stars Game 2. And that's what I do sometimes. If I can't think of anything, I kind of look at my old designs and see if I can, use or get some inspiration from one of my old designs. So there was a level in World Stars Game 2 that I'm kind of copying, but I decided to couple the enemies, in pairs of 2 instead of on their own. So, this is the design I'm trying to make work now. Or I was going to have like a bunch of back and forth enemies like this, and see if I can make some, some interesting gameplay. And since this is the first area of level 4, I want it to be good. Like, I don't want to start off the level with some crappy area. I want to, and also this is the first level where the walls turn purple. So I really want to, I want it to be a good area. I definitely don't want to have a weak design here. So now I'm thinking like, let's see if it works when the 2, intersect. And it seems like it is going to work if they're going to intersect, but really this is all just trial and error. I'll tell you right now, I ended up making this design in a little over an hour, which is pretty ridiculously fast. Basically, I just got really lucky. Usually, when you're doing trial and error like this, you just try out something, just doesn't work. You try to make it work, just doesn't work, and then you just try something else. And sometimes I think the longest is probably like 10 hours or so. That was actually the second area in level 1. I spent like 10 hours doing that because I just could not think of. I think it's level 1 B2. That took me like 10 hours because I tried like a million things and I wanted it to be really good and I just could not think of anything. But I'm really happy with what I came up with. So anyway, now that I'm trying out the enemies kind of intersecting like that, I've realized that it is probably going to work. So now I'm investing more time actually trying to, put it together basically. Also, you saw me adjust the speed a little earlier. What I did was I started off with 1 speed and it was too fast, and then I made it a bit slower, and then that ended up being pretty much perfect, or it was perfect. I never ended up changing it. So that only took 2 attempts, but usually when I change the speed, it's more like 50 attempts. Like I end up doing like 20 and then I think it's fine, and then later I end up changing it or something like that. So this was just really lucky. So now I'm trying to see if it's possible. Oh my god, what just happened? Okay, I'm just gonna keep recording. Oh, okay, you probably didn't even see it. Yeah, my computer just went to okay. Anyway, so now I'm just playing through. I decided to move that little square there down, and I think that looks a lot better. So now I'm just, and it also works, like if the square is on the other side, it wouldn't work, so it looks better and it works. So I think right there I finally decided not to have those little zigzags in the walls, and I'm definitely going to do that later in the game, but it just doesn't work for this level. And I was thinking maybe I could have little blocks there, but it wouldn't make sense because there's already so much checkpoints and stuff, or not checkpoints, but there's so many safe spots already, I wouldn't need any more. So now I was experimenting, like every single time you're on a green thing, it's always in a rectangle, so I thought maybe it would be cool if it wasn't in a rectangle and it was in that little zigzag thing, but ended up not looking too good, so I just not going to do that. And now I'm thinking, okay, how many checkpoints are going to be in this level? So right now I thought it would be good if there was 3. So yeah, those are just a bunch of random enemies I was going to work on later. Since these two levels kind of connect, I'm doing a little bit of work on the top of this area, but I'm not going to focus too much on this area. I'm just kind of trying to see if I can connect them well. And these walls I'm adding here are just visually like to make it look better, but I end up getting rid of those. And then I also thought maybe it would be cool if there was a checkpoint there, but because if you hit the enemy, you die right before hitting the checkpoint. Like right here, I'll die right before hitting the checkpoint. But it doesn't really look good, and it doesn't really make sense to have a checkpoint there because since this is late in the game, I want the checkpoints to be spread out. And so I don't want it to be too easy where you just have a checkpoint every single time you do something. So that's why I think right around here I decided to get rid of that check. Well, I'll just talk about it when it happens. So anyway, now I'm working on the enemies a bit more. These enemies all, even though they're moving at different speeds, they all are in complete synchronization, and that just works well for a level like this where it's like a really kind of tight, pattern that you have to weave through. Because you can try like over and over and over again, and it'll be the exact same every time. But in other areas, I'll have the enemies not be in sync, so it's kind of different each time you do it, and it just works well. Sometimes not being in sync, and sometimes it is in sync. So it's just cool having both. But for this level, it's way better that they're in sync. And you might see me like go invincible. That's just something I do every once in a while to test the levels. Also, I moved the checkpoint. That's because I just want to start in that little area there instead of starting, in the top center, because I wanted to test that. So now I'm I'm pretty much just seeing how hard it is, and I ended up getting lucky, and it was pretty much perfectly hard, so that's fine. I might end up going and changing this later. Because it's actually really, really hard for me to figure out if the difficulty is right, because I'm actually really, really good at this game, and it's hard for me to figure out if I'm just really good or if the level's easy. So anyway, here I'm just adjusting the enemies because I like them to be pixel perfect, and for some reason they weren't. So I was just moving them around a bit. Usually I don't have to really tweak them like this, but for some reason they weren't really pixel perfect. So that's pretty much all the enemies. I think I just finished them. But yeah, I got really lucky because, with trial and error, you're usually not going to get it like second try, which is what I got. Or it was like third try. So started off there, now I'm just testing the bottom area. I thought maybe the bottom area there is too easy because they're not really intersecting much, but it actually turned out to be pretty fun. Like, I just like it like that. And then right here, I think I realized that having that second checkpoint just makes it too easy. And by removing the, okay, well, I haven't removed it yet, but I'm going to. I removed that checkpoint on the right, which makes it actually a lot better because now you have the once you get the key, you can either go down and find the next checkpoint in the bottom area, or you can go back to the right and touch that checkpoint, because you're definitely going to want to hit a checkpoint after you get a key. But you kind of have a choice now. See, I delete that checkpoint. So now you have a choice after getting that key. You can either go back to the checkpoint on the left, or you can go to the area below and try to get to that checkpoint. So it's kind of cool giving them the option of which checkpoint do they think is easiest to get to. And if you're speed running the game, you definitely wouldn't want to backtrack to this checkpoint, but I think I'll probably make it so that backtracking is slightly easier. So anyway, now I'm just testing it. It's like the most fun part, kind of. It's fun for the first little while, but after you like test it like an insane amount, it becomes really, really frustrating, but I'm nowhere near that point yet. So anyway, I'm actually done. This was just, really quick. So now I'm just playing through, having fun, making sure it's the right difficulty. I can always change it later, So that's it. And now there's going to be a little video, because it's kind of hard to see when it's in 4x speed like this. So now this is in 1x speed. So here we go. I got that first try. I did the whole thing first try. Get the coins. Oh, yeah. So yeah, right here when the cutscene happens, that's where you're supposed to notice where the enemies are, like right here. Oh, I'm gonna go touch this checkpoint like you would in the real game. I almost die right here, but I just barely survive. So yeah, so there you go. Anyway, thanks for watching.